And then you need me to just click that when the line is.
They play everybody now.
Right now.
Okay, okay,
Here we go.
okay, we are live and in person. How is everybody?
Wonderful.
So I guess we will return to page 54, revenue. Did anybody have any questions since our last meeting?
Well, I did request a breakdown of the EMS revenue,
Yes.
which you provided me. So
Yes.
Thank you. Did anyone else get that?
No, I did not.
They did.
Oh, they did,
Part
yes.
of your update
Oh, okay.
handout for tonight. Someone asked about excise tax. So I just did a little recap for the last few years and then got an average on that. So that's on 2 pages and then. Towards the end, there's the EMS revenue budget detail that Val was asking about where we got that $1.1 million in revenue for EMS. So. That's up.
So the chart on the excise tax revenue shows 22-23 down significantly. Is that a partial year thing for this year or?
We're in 22-23, so we won't finish it until June 30th,
Okay,
but we're above where we should be.
right.
We collected 84%. So I feel pretty comfortable that we'll reach that. The budgeted, we'll go past the budgeted amount. The last 2 years, last 2 complete years, we were over $1 million in excise. So. There's a range, never expected it, which is why we budgeted a little bit less than the 21.
We're being, we think, conservative with that current number of 985 because. Given the supposed shortage of vehicles, we weren't sure which way it was going. We thought that was a reasonable.
Hmm.
But then you look at the interest rates on them and they're not that bad. So you don't know what it's gonna be.
I got a question, 3351 and 3352, is that for the transfer station? Must be.
Under Department 100?
Yeah,
Yes. It is.
that's not the whole, that's not everything, is it?
No, it's what
So
the
the town-
the town has to pay the county's bill. So what that represents is the transfer station's portion of Friendship and Cushing. Those two first.
Those go
numbers.
toward,
That
our
comes
county.
in to the general, yeah, so when they pay their first bill, they're paying the counties, the portion of the county's recycling, what we pay for the county's
Right.
recycling. Their town's share of the county recycling cost.
Got a question on the note on page 68 for the Friendship Street School revenues. Is that note for the current year? The sale proceeds,
So that's one of the things that you could do if you wanted to take some of the proceeds to use it for offsetting of taxes. I did not include that in there. Because if you start using something like that, that's a one-time infusion,
right?
but you could if you wanted to.
So where does that show up in the budget, or doesn't it? Is it an extra budget?
It's in a capital, I believe it's in a capital account on the big sheet of capital. On the second page,
Right at the bottom.
It's actually in the revenue section of the capital. Under the Friendship Street School, sale proceeds, is that what you're looking for?
yeah, he wants to know where it lives, though.
Yeah, it lives in the capital,
It lives in the capital.
under
Okay,
Friendship Street.
which page would that be on?
It's on the one that we gave you the other night. The big page of Val.
Well, it's in the regular capital, that's regular capital budget.
Right, but he wants to see where it lives.
Might want to go visit it sometime.
You wanted to take mine?
Oh, I got something in here somewhere.
It's on the
Oh,
second
okay.
page. About 3/4 of the way down.
Friendship Street School. Is that the same as the one that's in the book here? There's only 30,000 in.
So, so. This. Where are you looking?
I'm looking at
The
the,
book.
the big sheets in the book.
Right, that was, so this is the one that shows you,
And this loose one.
right, this is the newest one you've got, this is the big one. So that shows you the proceeds from the sale.
All right. Well, I guess in a general sense, I agree that it being a one-time
So, I mean,
funding.
it's a one-time, it's not like ARPA where it can go over 2 years, it's a one-time funding source, I'm not sure you wanna keep it. You could use it if you wanted to. But then you're going to have to figure out what you do next year.
I'm sure we will have capital expenditures that use it for. John?
Have we committed some of that money already?
Some of that money
It was went on,
was
went on
committed
vote,
on a vote back in November.
the playground with the swings and.
The swings, very important. I think they used a quarter, we used a quarter, we appropriated a quarter of that, the proceeds. To fund something, but those were special projects.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so would that be the 38,000 listed?
No, the 38,000 was the original amount that was in capital prior to the sale that was to be utilized for. The school for improvements.
Building.
The building itself.
Building maintenance.
So that has already been appropriated, that $38,000 has already been appropriated for the use of the playground set. And then we voted in November on, I think, 4 other uses that I do not remember off the top of my head. I know one was
Parking lot. Captain,
Engineering.
Captain engineering.
engineering, yeah, I don't remember all of those, but I could look it up.
One of the new signs and.
Yep, the new
Signs,
signs,
welcome signs. yeah.
the Adelgid, the woolly Adelgid issue that we had in the forest. But it's eating the hemlock. Bad bug, bad bug.
It is a
So-
bad bug.
What is our plan for that? Maybe just in the future, you already have a plan, or is that? Slowly getting find down.
Just sitting in capital, earning interest. We haven't had a discussion about that since. The original request to appropriate at least a quarter of it towards special projects. But again, if you fund it with something in the operating budget. Then you're gonna have to figure out where that money comes from next year.
Next year, right?
Did the town sell the entire parcel with the building, all the land? with the
Everything went,
building?
okay.
Okay.
How much of that money, Peg, is there left after the projects we?
I don't know off the top of my head. I'd have to go do that, which I could.
I would
We
take,
haven't done any of these things though yet.
right,
I understand. that.
we haven't expended any of the funds
Right,
yet.
but I mean, they were voted on and they were approved,
Right.
so if we can.
We did a quarter, I think.
Well, I was just thinking is, I was looking at the. Projected days of operation, and you have 439,000 over 60 days. According to the sheet.
Right. I had to correct that, by the way. What was in your book was my error. The last 3 lines, you have been talking about the last page,
Page.
the utilization of fund balance. So, okay, go ahead, sorry.
And- What if we do this? We take the money from the Friendship Street School. Put that towards tax relief. We leave this alone for next year in case we need it. Or can we do that? I'm just asking a question. I don't know if we can legitimately do that. Because,
Can you and should you would probably be the 2 questions you have to ask.
because we would have this for backup next year if we need it.
But if you use your fund balance, which would be a typical use of fund balance, then you have that to fall back on if you don't have a good year.
But the Friendship Street School, we just allocate it next year if we needed it, is what you're saying, so we're gonna set on that.
You would set on it, yeah, if you needed it. That, it's kind of your backup, I would say it's your
Backup fund
plan.
balance.
But yeah, I mean, you can look at it like that.
Yeah, they're both backup.
I mean, they are, it's just, I mean, it's cleaner as far as an accounting to use fund balance than it would be to use Friendship Street School
I just,
funding, and we would. Do you agree with me on that one?
that's fine. But that's why I asked about what was left of the Friendship Street School money.
Mhm.
We spent 70,000, 80,000.
Well,
I've
I'm
spent-
trying,
I've spent nothing on it. That's
No,
why I
I
don't
mean,
have it.
We
in my
got
head.
committed.
Yeah,
We-
committed, right, but I'm saying I don't have a, that's why I don't know.
I just call it spent because the voters
I know.
voted on it, so.
Pam, is there any way you could
They voted.
go pull that question off of November? Out of the, and then we can just tell you how much it is.
Probably look on the website. Website.
I was thinking,
But in all actuality, we're still over 90 days according to your calculations on impact.
If you use that.
If you don't, right, just to get 90 days. It's still over 90 days. Of operating.
76. The 76 are still accurate. Of where we are.
And what's the dollar figure?
Okay,
Good one.
so the 90 days would be another 361,000 on top of the 439.
Yeah, at the 90th day, would be 361,000 less than the 60-day. Target. Used to. We go by the 60-day target and then see where we are on that next group.
With 76 days.
Yeah,
Then we break
76
even at
days.
76 days.
Yep. That's weird. But the
it was
website.
102,500, 20,000 for the Adelgids. 7,500 for the signs. And 60,000 for the environmental protection stream crossing grant for the Elm Street culvert.
Oh, yeah. that was-
And $15,000 for engineering for the Pennsylvania site.
So we're basically down to 200,000 in the Friendship Street School after those
Right, yeah.
expenditures.
Basically,
Okay.
you're down to 200.
Well, I would like to point out that the projected capital need for next year is $2 million. And over $1 million for every year beyond that out to 2032. So I would not be in a hurry to spend any capital money without a good reason and something to show for it.
And I just,
You're gonna have to raise the money. Or do without some capital expenditures. We knocked capital way back to 735,000 this year, which is quite an anomaly for our projected expenses.
well, just remember too, you also have the option in some of those funding capital. You can also finance some of that. I'm not
Right.
Suggesting we do so that, and, you know, we put in the fire truck
For a
that came
fire
in
truck, yeah.
2 years off cycle, so that's why your capital is a little wonky.
Even without the fire truck, it's still over $1 million.
Right, but if you were to look at it without that, we were trying to keep it reasonably level,
Yep.
and that's what's throwing us off. You know, some of it is, and some of it is adding expenses to. You know, we didn't expect ambulances to go up in price,
Things happen.
things happen. And I just want to say, again, this is a plan. It's a guide. It's a plan. Doesn't mean it has to happen. It gives us a guide of what to expect and when. It's not engraved in stone.
Right, but it's a dose of reality.
It's a big dose of reality. Yes, it is. But I don't want people thinking, I mean, that's why we have these meetings every year and we talk about capital every year as where should we be? What should we invest in? How should we do it? Financing versus saving, those types of things.
In the past, have we financed a fire truck?
Yeah.
We have.
We have. So we've done a mix of both. So I think prior to, I'm gonna say 2017, 18, it was save as you go and then purchase. And then interest rates dropped to what they dropped to, and then it became, okay, why don't we finance some of this? So we like to do a mix. Part of that is also the discussion of you're taxing people now for something they may never see. So if you are saving ahead for that truck in public works or fire, you're not taxing the people who may be here. But if you finance it when you buy it, then you are making the people who are currently using that vehicle during its expected lifetime, you are then taxing them for the use of that vehicle. So it's two different schools of thought on that. And we had debate over the last 6 years on that very topic. Of which way is the best way to look at it. And somewhere in the camp of, yeah, it's not quite right to tax somebody in advance of all this being bought. It's more fair to do it the other way. So it was, I would say it was reasonably split on how to approach that, but we really did try to take advantage of the low interest rates when they existed. And we even considered and thought about, was there a way to borrow at a low interest rate, but you really needed something to borrow for. So we didn't, you know, back when money was 1%, we couldn't just say, okay, we're going to borrow all our money now. We're going to go out and borrow $3 million to fund this for the next whatever years. You just can't do it like that. Although we did think about it. We did question the intelligence of doing that. So that's my overview for it.
Well, line of credit.
It's a good conversation.
It was good, it was, and I mean, the budget committee, and the budget committees since 2017, at least I can only speak to when I've been here, we're very engaged in that debt conversation. And I just want to say, I also think that this is an unusual budget committee in that we do get into those, because if you actually listen to other towns' budget committees, that high level conversation is not typically occurring in those other budget committees. I think we're special. And I think it's good because the budget committee represents even a bigger swath of the towns in how you approach it. Oh, and also with the, well, we're still on revenue, so I'll wait. Any other questions about revenue?
So how are we gonna approach this as far as voting on it? So
It's one number of revenue, correct, Peg, when we vote? One
Vote
number.
on one,
look at everything. all at once.
revenues.
That's
Oh,
how it's been in the past.
do we have an updated number on state revenue sharing yet?
That is the updated number.
This is the updated number.
Yes, the $42 million that everybody saw scrolling against the bottom of their TV was for a school funding era, not for a town funding era. So we are not sharing in that $42 million, but an extra $500,000, I believe, is going to RSU 40.
So we're at 960,000.
Yeah. And that's set by the revenue forecasting in the state of Maine. They have a committee that decides what that's going to be and what they're forecasting. Typically, we get more than what they tell us. That's been the history, but I would only anticipate what they're saying will get. And I believe in the budget that was just passed at the state level, that revenue sharing was part of that budget.
How is revenue voted on in the warrant, town warrant,
As one number.
one number?
That's nothing new. It's been like that forever.
Yeah, just.
All right, well, for the select board. Vote on the. Is the 3,723,483 the right one? No,
This,
just wanted to make sure.
thank you.
Okay. All right, is there a motion to accept the 3,723,483?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion carried.
So the select board is. Approve the number $3,723,483 for total revenue. For fiscal year 2024.
So moved.
Thank you. I'm sorry, John, did you second that? Do you have any more discussion? Questions? All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. One absent. Voting.
And next we have the discussion on solar. So I have a few answers for you and I did some research. So I have not heard back from Sundog. I did email them on Friday. I did call today. They were gonna do their best to get back to me. But I have not heard back. I just checked my email to ask them about the purchasing half and then the other half. So that I do not have an answer for you on that. As far as maintenance. So what I did was I called other communities that have solar fields. That are either town-owned or go through a third party and how those maintenance agreements. Shake out. So. Essentially, you're somewhere between $150 and $200 an hour. When you're calling for some type of service. And nobody that I spoke to went over so far 40 hours. Excuse me, thank you. 40 hours in any type of maintenance. A lot have been a lot less. Somebody like a neighboring community that had a issue with a rodent was more. But so it's, I took 40 as the worst case scenario times 200 to come up with an $8,000 price tag on. Worst case scenario per year. I just didn't know how else to back into that number. Without somebody being able to tell me what their maintenance agreement would look like. So that was the best I could do with the information that I had. So I tried very hard to figure out that number on my own. Go ahead, Bob.
So law of averages, how many worst case scenarios can you expect in a 25-year period with solar panels?
I don't
I can
know.
tell you what it is in my case over 10 years. Zero, none, nada, not one penny for maintenance. So
And that's what some said, like and if you look back at what ours has been, our issue started last year.
Hmm.
So, we had 5 years prior to that where we really didn't have any issues. So again, it's you don't know. But me being it's always the worst case scenario with me, because if you don't plan for the worst case, then it happens. So I didn't know I didn't know how else to back it in there. And nobody wants to tell you what they're going to charge you, because it's all well and good for doing this. Probably $2,500 to $3,000 a year, unless there's something that happens. And then what happens? So just heads up on that.
So if we're really concerned about this, one thing we could do is create a sinking fund, call it a maintenance fund. And fund it for 5 years at X dollars. And let it be there. So we're covered if the worst case happens. And then if it happens, the following year, you start to fund up again.
And like Dan did explain to us when we met with him, is that it was what's the part? Mike will know right off. Optimizer.
Hmm.
It was an optimizer that, and they do, they are under warranty, and eventually you do get all that back, but you're still paying for the time down, and you're also paying for
Service call.
the service call.
Question.
So that is what I found out. I really did try to get an answer.
Very short time frame.
It was essentially a 3-day time frame, and like I said, I just checked my email and my phone hasn't rung, so I'm sure he'll call me first thing in the morning and tell me. But I just wanted to try to do my very best to get you the information in a timely manner, and if anything changes before next Tuesday, I can always let you know.
Does your system have optimized?
What I hear.
Some of them do and some of the newer ones do. The older ones don't. Good question.
Are they the same brand that, is that the
Florida
arm?
They're Solar Edge. Solar
Yes.
Edge is the inverter company
Yes,
and they make the inverters. Sorry, the optimizers.
but that's what I can find out. So I just wanted to keep you up to date on that.
So procedurally, as far as meeting goes, what are we? We're gonna vote on whether to buy it or not, recommend buying it
Technically, you already did that. You already put
by
it in the
budgeting
capital
half.
budget by budgeting half. If anything changes, I mean, just like with when we were looking at EMS and all the other things we've looked at that you've been called back for. You know, when we get to that point, we can call you back and have another meeting. I mean, if I get information that says, yes, we can do this. And we're willing to take the half and the half, and then you're saving more money. You know, before next Tuesday, when we have to have the warrant done, we can. Call you back in next Tuesday for 5 minutes before the select board meeting, and you guys can revote if you want to revote, if you're gonna think, you know. I think it was a 7-2 vote.
Yeah, there were two.
Yeah.
Objectors and 5 or 7, whatever.
6-2. That's right, somebody was absent, but, so, I mean, I can always, right now, it's in there for half. If I get a reasonably good explanation, those two people might wanna revote, I don't know, but that's.
So
where
this
we're
was
at.
part of a larger budget package.
Yeah,
For the capital, so I'll say right out, my vote wasn't against the solar
Oh, I
project.
thought we did that individually and then as one whole, but I could be wrong.
You mentioned something earlier, about. I'm pretty sure there are a certain amount of the citizenry don't get to, enjoy the benefits today of investments. And certainly this is of that category, because. I only have $2,000 a year in there for maintenance, and that number looks like it's gonna get somewhat worse. But we're probably talking 10 years, probably. A number of us aren't gonna be here, but we may be here, but we'll be looking at the roots of the grass.
That's a terrible thought.
Yes, they better get an extension cord plug on them. If even another.
We could have this, a new cemetery under the solar panels.
Cemetery.
Have it made in the shade.
Grass to grow over it. We do not want fertilizer under there.
Real quick,
It did, real quick.
I'll tell you, if you have debt service payments, bonds are going up. It's gonna never pay back as a bond.
Well, again, that's. Like I said. I'm not saying it's $8,000 a year. I'm just saying that my worst case scenario, a year you would need. And we didn't have, I don't think we had any service calls in at least a 2 or 3 year span there. So. Yeah, and it's I did the best I could with the information that I had.
Hey, Will, maybe we can train somebody at the transfer station to clear those optimizers.
Well, again, like I said, the local individual who we now have doing our electrical work, who is a Waldeboro resident, has experience working with optimizers. So again, I didn't call them up and say what I mean, I kind of know what his hourly rate is, but I don't know what it would be. So this 200 is probably high if we were to go that way, but the 40 hours I wanted to stay with. That's why I said it's 150 to 200. I always go to the extreme because I'm always afraid if I don't, I will have wished I did. I learned that early on in my career. Don't be cheap when you're estimating.
Last year.
Getting your stuff.
So that's where we're at with that. So, but I'll keep you up to date. I'll keep you apprised of everything.
Now, how would that $8,000 a year in maintenance affect the repayment curve?
So that would be a great question for Mike.
Sorry?
He wants to know how that $8,000 would affect that curve, that graph.
A
that you
9-year
shared,
payback?
The 9-year payback.
It wouldn't take me long to do it, but I don't have my laptop with me and I could do it in a few minutes. It's as little as changing the data, not the.
And I agree with Bob, do you estimate every year is going to be a horrible year, or do you say a couple of years are 8s, a couple of years are 6s, a couple of years are 5s? I don't know. Like I said, I'm not an actuary. Sometimes I play one on TV, but other people would say they want to be a ballerina. I want to be an actuary. I don't know, there's something wrong with that. Anybody have anything else? Because I mean, that's pretty much, we've pretty much covered the, we pretty much run the gamut here.
5% per year? Sure. That's what I said.
Bob and Mike have their heads together. figuring it out. I thought you guys were like whipping up a graph. Would not shock me either.
Assume that all panels would work. But still work.
Okay, for the select board, if there's nothing further that we need to, excuse me.
I'm sorry, Jan. I'm late on the draw here. First of all, I just want to say thank you to Jan and Jan for serving as selectmen. You guys are not rerunning. So I want to thank you both for your service in the select board.
I'll second that.
And Peg, top notch as always.
Thank you. I tried. And feedback. I should have had something for you guys tonight. You can email me if you'd like to see anything different.
I'll send you a survey.
Or less.
You can rate the service.
Yeah.
And Miss Julie, I said this to you yesterday. I've seen a lot of town managers in this town. You're close to number one. Yeah, I've seen a lot of them over the years, and you're getting close to number one.
I will share with you guys, I got a phone call last week. It has nothing to do with budget committee, but it has to do with this town and. You know, I think when I got hired that. People took I don't think a big chance because I love this town.
We did it.
But you did.
Bob and I saw that.
But you really did take a chance of taking somebody from New Jersey to come here and be your town manager. And a very intelligent person who was late to the draw on select board to take me around and show me the real Waldboro. But he did. He gave me some very sage advice, and I like to think I listened to that advice. But it meant a lot to me this last week. I got a voicemail from somebody because the town called and offered up assistance to somebody in town. And it came from a section of town that when I started, people didn't have a good relationship with the town. And I think that's the job that the town manager has to do is if it doesn't matter if it's former CEO of a top firm walks in, if it's one of my clam diggers, it doesn't matter who it is. My door is open and you're all treated the same. And I think that's what's really important here. And the thing that has impressed me the most over the time I've been here, and I think this committee especially represents all different walks of life. It's such a socioeconomically diverse committee, just like our town is, different political backgrounds, everything you can think of, and you all work so well together. And to me, that just speaks volumes that this town has some of the most amazing volunteers and the depth of knowledge. You know, I sit in all on the Sylvania redevelopment committee with, you know, a brain trust of people that have, I mean, Mike explained yesterday, sitting in the Sylvania Development Committee, how tetrachloroethylene works and it does all these neat things, and then when it hits this, it does that, and I, you know, I didn't pay attention during chemistry. You know, but I was impressed, you know, and, you know, then you have Janet McMahon giving the environmental side of it, and it's amazing to me that we have so many amazing volunteers. So thank you all for your service. Billy, it's your last year.
It is.
You keep telling me that, I'm not sure I believe it, but,
Count yourself out, Bill.
No.
Now there's always write-in votes.
Yeah, that's what you did last time. And the year before that,
Yeah.
you had to get down on public knee.
you did,
Remember that?
you did. But I mean,
do it
it's
again.
been, like I said, every budget committee from when we started with John. What was John's last?
John
John
Higgins, John Higgins.
John Higgins and I singing a duet to start off the budget committee meeting. Do you remember that?
Mhm.
And it was great. It was really great. So,
Well, you set a good tone.
we try. We really do try. This was the most difficult one yet in my career. I'm on many years, and this was the most difficult one. I thought COVID 2021 was going to be, I said it then, this is the most difficult one. This is the most difficult one. So, and I'm sure you'll be hearing, you know, like I said, you're probably going to be called back in starting in the summer for some review of some new ideas and thoughts, and you know, we're always striving. If you have questions, or if you have a bright idea in the middle of the night or as you're showering in the morning and think, hey, this is an out of the box idea for revenue for the town of Waldeboro, call us and let us know. I get those a lot, you know, sometimes people will say, hey, what a great idea. No. People calling me and say, I had this idea and it hit me. No. Oh my God.
So when do you figure out the mill rate?
Mill rate is that commitment, normally in August.
August, right?
Mhm. And you can, I mean, if we want, we can revisit. For special meeting, special town meeting. Before commitment. I'm not suggesting that, I'm just saying, that is always an option. If we come up with some more brilliant idea, you know, if something takes a turn, then, or if we get better news or worse news, we can always revisit it even after the vote by a special town. So never feel like you're boxed in. Not that Peg and I won't be pulling our hair out, but I think Daryl might be, well, we don't have to worry about Daryl, but.
Carol would give an estimate. too.
Yeah, now that we have a set. We really have to wait for the school too, and I'm not sure what they're doing. I know there were some things posted on Facebook about a capital project that they had in mind, but I haven't heard more about that. So I don't know where that stands. I just don't know.
Okay. May I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, is everybody, those of the select board who are in favor of adjournment, raise your right hand. All opposed, motion carried.
Well, does the budget committee want to hang around for a while tonight, or should,
I make a motion, we adjourn.
okay. House,
Second.
thank you.